Actually, it is a privilege for the people of Arunachal Pradesh, especially for the journalists of Arunachal Pradesh, for having so many senior journalists of the country here in the capital city of Arunachal Pradesh. And I believe that from this meeting, our young journalists from the state will get a lot of experience and other knowledges to pursue their future careers. So in fact, the government is also happy with the Indian Journalists Union for choosing Itanagar to be the place venue for executive meeting, and I wish them all good luck.
So you have also talked about the advertisement policy for the digital media. When will it be implemented?
It is I think almost rolled out. It is almost in the implementation, and if there is any hiccup, then I'll look into it.
अरुणाचल यूनियन ऑफ वर्किंग जर्नलिस्ट होस्ट किया है यहाँ पे। हम IJU इंडियन जर्नलिस्ट यूनियन इज एफिलेटेड टू इंटरनेशनल फेडरेशन ऑफ जर्नलिस्ट IFJ। ये वर्ल्ड का सबसे बड़ा जर्नलिस्ट का बॉडी है, उसका एफिलेटिव हम लोग। तो जर्नलिज्म का कोई भी इशू आता है, हमारा तनख्वाह से लेके सिक्योरिटी तक, प्रेस फ्रीडम से लेके क्वालिटी ऑफ जर्नलिज्म का जो इशू आ जाता है, सारे इशू इस मुद्दे को हम डिस्कस करते हैं हमारा मीटिंग में। फिर हमारा जितना सारे प्रॉब्लम हुआ है कोविड-19 का वजह से, वर्ल्ड में कम से कम कोई लाखों जर्नलिस्ट को मौत हो गया है, क्योंकि तो जानते हैं फ्रंटलाइन वर्कर है, हम लोग को कवर करना पड़ता है सारे। फिर कोविड-19 का वजह से हम लोग मीडिया फ्रीडम जो है, मीडिया फ्रीडम में भी उसका असर हुआ है। सारे SOP जो लगा देता है, तो जो सरकार का आलोचना करता है, किसी मीडिया का ऊपर हमला हो जाता है, सरकारी कुछ उसमें रेस्ट्रिक्शन आरोप करता है। फिर ये सब वजह से भी हम लोग को कुछ दिक्कत हुआ है। तो ये सब प्रॉब्लम भी हम उसका जो मीटिंग है, ये मीटिंग में हम लोग बताएंगे। हमारा जर्नलिस्ट का पेंशन, कॉर्पस फंड, जो सोशल सपोर्ट सिस्टम है, जो गवर्नमेंट से हम लोग मांग सकता है, तो ये सब हम बातें करेंगे, रिजोल्यूशन लेकर गवर्नमेंट को देखेंगे, ताकि हमारा जर्नलिज्म आसान हो जाए, फिर हमारा लिवलीहुड भी थोड़ा सा सपोर्ट मिले। ये सभी आज का INEC का डिस्कशन का मुद्दा।
Well, firstly, I want to thank our colleagues in Arunachal Pradesh for hosting this meeting, because we haven't had a physical meeting for the past 2 years, and given the fact that it was COVID, and that's my first responsibility as Secretary General of the Indian Journalists Union, what is important is that we are meeting after 2 years, and there are lots of issues that we have to discuss threadbare. The biggest one is that there has been an increase on attacks on journalists, freedom of media, as well as the fact that laws are being misused in various states by various state governments to imprison journalists, get them embroiled in legal cases by using the sedition law, the UAPA, even the NSA. So that's one of the main issues we're going to discuss. Second, we're going to do is we're going to look at the aspect of how we have to reach out to governments to help the journalists who have been impacted by COVID, because media houses have laid off people, and there is job loss, there is salary cuts, and unfortunately we had written to the central government to give a stimulus package even to the media, like it has given to different other sectors, but that hasn't come through. So that is another issue that we're going to look into. Third issue, I think, is what your own minister has just said is very vital, is looking at the social media, the digital policy that the government has, which of course we are very upset about, because it's talking about privacy, your question on privacy. Another major issue is going to be surveillance of journalists, as we saw in the Pegasus scandal, and the matters in the Supreme Court, and we hope that the committee is going to give us some kind of opinion on it. Ensure that there is going to be no more surveillance. Rest would be a lot of internal matter discussions, in the sense of what are the issues in the states, what are the major issues in the states. Like, we know for a fact that Uttar Pradesh is, I think, one of the worst states in the country, wherein you have sedition cases being, put against journalists. Like, it's become, instead of becoming an exception, it's become a rule there. So there's going to be issues on that. Digitalization of media. This is something which is very important. It's not just in India, it's across the world, and that young journalist, and as a trade which fights for journalism, have to ensure that when I
Bamang Felix has already talked about on his speech about the policy for this. What is the IJU?
see, one thing is very clear, and I think you young journalists must understand. Though the word is social media, it's not media. Because when we talk about media, when we talk about journalism, it is that you have to give both sides of the story. You have to check your facts. Then only would you go in and write about something. So when you're talking about social media, you have people who just pick up their cell phones, put something, say something, and then turn themselves into citizen journalists. That is something which has to be dealt with properly, in the sense that not just the organizations. I'm very clear about one thing. Yes, there is an issue on social media, but this has to be taken up by an ombudsman, by various authorities. No way, even for 1 second, am I going to allow the government to get involved and set rules for social media. Because if that is done, we will see what we are seeing is what's happening to the media today, where rules and policies are clamping down the freedom. I don't know whether you're all aware of this, but the second wave of COVID was devastating. Was just simply horrible. It was horrible not just because of the people dying because of COVID, it was because of mismanagement by state governments. So you had a situation where there was no hospitalization, no hospital beds, no oxygen. But for social media, posts on phones, and people sharing what they saw, we realized that the major newspapers, major electronic media was not covering the second COVID wave, because it had come, there's a bit of, complacency. I don't know what it was, and you didn't really have much of a second wave, but we did have in Delhi, we did have in Maharashtra. Cases were filed by the governments against journalists reporting facts of how bad the situation was. So what I'm trying to say is that social media does play a role. In fact, I think it nudged and it made journalists, and I'm sure some even media houses, to finally report and question and then make the government accountable on its mismanagement of the situation during the second wave. Are we all right?
Yeah, many of you might not aware what IJU NEC is. IJU NEC is one of the highest body meeting in Indian Journalists Union. We, as an affiliate body of IJU, I feel privileged and honored to host this IJU NEC here at Itanagar in collaboration with Arunachal Press Club. And we have delegates from across the country who gather here, who come to discuss the journalist related issue across the country. And I believe in the technical sessions we will be dealing upon the issues we have been facing across the globe and across the India, and of course in our state. Since IJU leadership are here, we will be discussing on those issues. And I believe our comrades, especially the young journalist friends who were attending this session, I believe they would benefit from NEC IJU, because being an affiliate body, like I said, it's it's really privilege to be part of IJU families, and we need to stand united whenever the press freedoms and freedom of speech is concerned. And we have international body of International Federation of Journalists, which is the largest working journalist body in the globe. So yeah, it's a privilege, and it's the first time in the history of Arunachal press fraternity that we are hosting NEC here at Itanagar.
As you have already told us about the issues that you'll be working on it, what are the issues? Can you please tell the viewers what are the issues that journalists or you'll be discussing on this meeting?
IJU convinces says I am not authorized to disclose what issues we are going to talk, but I believe, as far as I know, we have a state report from the respective state general secretary. Each state has their dynamic issues apart from this bearing COVID issue. COVID is a global issue. I think the COVID issue must be the one of the major issues we are going to discuss. And also our chief guest has raised one issues. We need to frame policies to identify who is a real journalist and who is self-proclaimed journalist, considering the advent of social media. So I think this is one of the bigger challenges we are facing collectively in the globe and in the region. So I think digital issue is one of the issues that we are going to discuss upon.
Is there anything else you have to say?
Like I said, we feel privileged, especially hosting comrades from across the countries here in Itanagar. And though there is a COVID protocol we have to maintain, and we could not able to bring more people from other state because of this COVID surge across the country. I think so we will benefit from the IJU Itanagar, and this would be one of the history one.
So can you highlight a bit about the pension scheme that Minister was?
Yeah, in fact, pension scheme is one of the long pending and long felt demands of Arunachal Pradesh Union Working Journalists. Why we have demanded this to our state government? Because especially the journalists who have gave their entire life to these professions at India's superannuations, they don't have anything to earn, anything to sustain themselves. So considering the fact that we requested governments to enhance a pension scheme, and I must thank the state government for enhancing a pension scheme amount from our proposal 15,000 to 25,000. So it has been law department has given clearance to that, and shortly we are waiting for the gazette notification. I think it should soon it gonna be rolled out.
Last question, sir. Any difficulties with so much going on in the capital right now? Difficulties hosting the program?
Yeah, in fact, our initial program was NEC is actually IJU NEC is mostly a 2 days event. We were supposed to we are supposed to have our guest tonight here at Itanagar, but situation demands. I think we have arranged their transportations to ferry them out from the state capital, because there is a burn call tomorrow. We don't want to take any chance here.
प्रदेश में क्या इंडियन जर्नलिस्ट यूनियन का एग्जीक्यूटिव कमेटी मीटिंग चल रहा है, वो तो बहुत अच्छी तरफ से चल रहा है। यहाँ का अरुणाचल प्रदेश का कल्चर और हॉस्पिटैलिटी इज वेरी ग्रेट। और क्या ऑल ओवर इंडिया अरुणाचल प्रदेश ने पहले बार पत्रकारिताओं को 25,000 रुपये पेंशन देने का क्या महत्वपूर्ण निर्णय ले रहा है, वो तो इडीं इंडिया का मादरी है होगा। सिर्फ हमारा कर्नाटका स्टेट में 10,000 रुपये पेंशन दे रहा है। हम सब डिमांड करेंगे अरुणाचल प्रदेश के बारे में हमारे को भी 25,000 रुपये पेंशन देना और गवर्नमेंट बेनिफिट्स देना करके हमारा भी डिमांड है। आई वेरी थैंकफुल टू अरुणाचल प्रदेश गवर्नमेंट एंड इंडियन जर्नलिस्ट यूनियन अरुणाचल प्रदेश एंड मिस्टर प्रेसिडेंट वोमन संघ। थैंक यू वेरी मच।